The topic for today, guys, is to generate equivalent expressions. Generate equivalent expressions. Okay, I'm going to expand this and I'm going to show you the topic in here, okay? Later, we are going to work in the example one. The example one is to use properties of operations. I'm going to change the color. Use properties of operations to write equivalent expressions. To write equivalent expressions. Okay. And the equation we have, okay, we are going to read it, but the equation we are going to need is this one. I'm going to write it so later we only complete. Then the student council has spent $300 on the supplies needed to sponsor a dance concert fundraiser. Okay. 3 council members wrote the following expressions to represent the total amount raised for the tickets sold. Can they all be correct? Explain. And we have 3 equations. You can see it below. 6t minus 300, 6 multiplied by t minus 50, and negative 300 plus 6t. Okay, so in the step 1, we need to verify that one of the expressions represent the amount raised for t tickets sold. So the first equation we have this, 6t minus 300. 60 is the amount made selling tickets, and 300 is the cost of supplies. Okay, so we subtract the cost of the supplies. I'm going to use the text to complete with you the exercises. For the first one, in the step 2, at the right part of your book, you have the step 2, okay? We need to use properties of operations to write equivalent expressions. And we have this, 6 multiplied by t minus 50. Then what are we going to do? We are going to use the distributive property to multiply. The distributive property says that if you have one number, like in this one, multiplying both more than one term inside the parentheses, you are going to multiply the 6 by each one. 6 by t is 6t, and minus 6 times 50, okay? So that's what we have in here. And later, we are going to write that this is the distributive property. For you to remember how to use it, remember you need to memorize the properties, okay? Okay, since you learned this since elementary, so you already know it, only that you forget the name sometimes. Then, for the first one, we complete this only multiplying 60 minus, and we multiply 6 times 50, that is going to be 300. Now we have the other equation, negative 300 plus 6t. And what is going to happen with this? If we use the commutative property, we can move the terms. And now I can write the 60 first, and we subtract the 300. But we have a plus in here, and the negative 300 is inside parentheses. But what happened when we have positive and negative? It's going to be the same. It's going to be negative 300. Because you multiply positive times negative, you obtain negative, okay? So they are equivalent expressions. Yes, right? Because you obtain the same like the first one, 60 minus 300, 60 minus 300, 60 minus 300. So we can say as an answer that the council members wrote equivalent expressions. Wrote equivalent expressions. They are all correct. I'm going to move this, don't worry. They are all correct. Okay. I'm going to move it so you can see it better. They are okay. All correct. I don't know why I have so much space in here. And for the council, I'm going to change this. This is the answer we have, right? This is the answer we have because the equations, the expressions, you can see that they are equivalent. So they are all correct. Can they all correct? They ask you. So yes, they are all correct. Now, in the other part, you have that one exercise that says try it. Nancy wrote the expression 3x minus 12. So I'm going to write in here Nancy's expression. I'm going to use again the other color. Nancy's expression. I don't know how to name the, the exercise, so I use the Nancy's expression. And I'm going to copy the expression that Nancy is going to use, that is 3x minus 12, okay? So now we can continue solving the exercise. And we need to do what? We need to complete the equations that appears below. 3 multiplied by x minus one number that multiply by 3 is going to be 12, like the first in here, okay? We need to find equivalent expressions for this one, okay? To write two equivalent expressions. So this is the first one, and I'm going to write the other one. The other expression we have is one number plus 3x. So if we complete this, what number multiplied by 3 is going to be 12?
4.
4, right? Because if you multiply everything inside the parentheses by 3, 3 times x, 3x. 3 times 4, 12. Okay, so we have one equivalent expression using the distributive property. The distributive property says that when you have something outside the parentheses, you can multiply it by each term that it's inside. Okay, and for the other one, we are going to use the associative property. Oh, I forgot to write it in here, the associative property. I'm going to write it for you. Okay. Commutative property. The associative is its other one, sorry. Commutative property. They are similar, though. Commutative property, okay. Then is what we are going to use in here, the commutative property, because we only write in here the negative 12, okay? And when we have the negative 12 plus 3x, I'm going to select this so I can move it. Okay. When we have something like this, remember you can move the 12 to the other side and you are going to obtain the same in here. 3x minus 12, okay? So we already found the two expressions for Nancy's expression. We completed the expressions. Now in the example 2, we need to write equivalent expressions by combining like terms. I'm going to change the color for this and we are going to start with the example 2. In the example 2, is the other color, is the blue one. Example 2, we need to write equivalent expressions. I forgot the point. Write equivalent expressions by combining like terms. Okay. What else we need to do in this example, guys? Sorry. Okay, I already changed the color, so I'm not going to change it again. I'm going to use the blue in here. Okay, one equation we have is A. For A, we have negative 5x plus 2y plus 3x, and we are going to use the properties to find the answer of this. The first part I need to solve is that x has to be with the other x, okay? So I need to combine the like terms. I have negative 5x, and I'm going to pass the 3x to the left part plus 3x plus 2y. I only order the terms, okay? I am not modifying anything. I am only writing the similar terms, the like terms, in the same space, okay? So if I have negative 5x plus 3x, I'm going to separate them. I'm going to separate it using the parentheses. I separate x from the y. Negative 5 plus 3 multiplied by x plus 2y. What is this property? This is the commutative property, like we do in the other example, okay? Then I'm going to write in here, commutative property. I'm going to expand so you can see it better in here, okay? Commutative property, and we are going to finish the exercise. We already started, and only solve the subtraction. Negative 5 plus 3 is going to be negative 2, right? Because we write the sign of the greater number. So negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. And we multiply this by x. Remember, the x is the variable associated with this parenthesis for the values of x. Plus 2y. This is the exercise, okay? This is the first exercise. So then in here, what we use to multiply the x by all the terms? The distributive property. Sometimes I don't write these kind of things, but I think that it's important for you to remember about that. That's the reason why I'm writing today the properties. We have one last exercise from the example 2. It's the exercise B. In the exercise B, we have something with fractions. 1/3 x plus 1/6 x plus 1/6 x plus y. Okay, this is what we have in the exercise, so we are going to solve this. We use the associative property only to keep the variables x in one side of the equation. So I have 1/3 x plus 1/6 x, parenthesis again, plus y. And what is this, guys? This is the associative property. What's the difference in here with the associative property? You can see that you have these terms in a parenthesis associating x and y. So we move it and we associate only the x, and the y is going to be separated, it's going to be alone in other place, okay? So that's the associative property in here, okay? We associate the same terms. And again, I only need to solve this. I only add this fraction. You know how to solve this. 1/3 plus 1/6 is going to be 3/6 x. Remember, the variable is x. This is in addition with y. So 3 over 6x plus y. This is for the number 2. We already completed number 2. Then I'm going to make a pause in here. Maybe you have some questions before we start with the number 3. Now, in the example 3, we only need to explain something. I'm going to do it faster with you. It's not something difficult, only that they show you all the steps and the 3 different cases we have for this example. So in the example 3, we need to identify equivalent expressions. Only to identify if these expressions we have below are equivalent to this fraction 2/3 x minus 2, that is a whole number, or not. So they have to be equivalent to this. That's what we are going to prove. So for the first one, you have negative 2 over 3x, negative 2 over 3x okay, plus negative 2. What we have in here, guys, if we multiply positive times negative, we obtain negative. So 2 over 3x minus 2 is going to be equal. Yes, right? To the equivalent, is equivalent to the first expression they give us. So we can say that this expression is equivalent. Okay. Later we have the second one. We have three cases. We are going to the second one. If we have 2 minus 2 over 3x, is this equivalent to this one? Okay, we are going to try to find. If we move this, if we use the commutative property, remember the commutative property we can move in here. So I have negative 2 over 3x plus 2. This is positive, right? The 2 is positive. It's equivalent to this one. No, right? Because this is negative and this is positive, so the sign is different. This is not an equivalent expression. This expression is not equivalent, isn't equivalent. And we only have the third one. You can see how easy this is, only to compare if it's equivalent to this one. That's the only thing. And in the third one, we have negative x plus 1/3 x, 1/3 x plus negative 2. Okay, this is what we have in here. So what we need to do, guys, we use the associative property again to move the parentheses. So I'm going to relate the parentheses with negative x and positive 1/3 x. Parentheses, tell me.
It's already time.
We have 1 minute, I think. Okay, and it's only this exercise, Angie, don't worry. Negative x plus, we finish with this. I'm sorry, it's because the exercises sometimes are too long, but we already finished. I'm only solving with you this. Negative 2. Look, this is the associative property. I move the parentheses. I don't have the parentheses with the x and the other number. I only have this with x, negative x and positive 1/3 x. And what we do later, we only add or subtract the fractions. We have negative 2 over 3x. This is the answer of this, right? Plus negative 2. What happened when we have negative 2 and the plus in here? The plus is going to eliminate, right? And we only have negative 2. So is this expression equivalent? Right. Correct, right? Because we have the same. this expression is equivalent. So guys, we are going to finish the class in here because it's already time. So complete study. Remember to study this exercise again. We are going to work tomorrow in page 198, 99, and 200. And the homework is going to be for Friday. See you tomorrow then, guys. I'm going to finish in here.